The checkout beeps. A plastic bottle of water slides across the glass. The drink is cheap. The line beside it is not the water. It is 25 cents that will outlive the liquid. In Germany, an empty disposable bottle can still hold a legally created cash value after the drink itself is gone. That is the contradiction. The product is consumed. The container becomes waste. And yet the waste keeps a price. Not sentiment. Not a recycling slogan printed in green ink. A statute. The shopper paid that €0.25 at the register because the rule required it. The retailer collected it because the duty sat on the sale. The bottle now carries a claim. Return this eligible shell, and the 25 cents come back as cash or a voucher. Leave it in a bin, and the claim is never presented. Walk any German city, and the mechanism shows in the street. A commuter finishes a cola and will not drop the bottle into mixed trash. A student parks empties in a kitchen crate until the crate is heavy enough to justify the walk. Near a station, someone works the public bins, not for the polymer, but for the refund. The empty object has been turned into a ticket. This is Germany's bottle deposit system.
The economic protagonist is not the brand on the label. It is a mandatory deposit, a standardized marking, a retailer take-back duty, a mesh of reverse vending machines, and a national clearing arrangement that treats returned packaging as a financial instrument moving between shops. Follow one German beverage container from checkout to return, and the story is not a lecture on virtue. It is a story about how a price can be welded onto trash so tightly that millions of people change what they throw away. And it is narrower than the myth. The 25-cent rule does not bless every bottle in the country. Covered single-use packaging is one legal world. Reusable packaging is another. Confuse them, and the machine rejects the bottle with a dry, mechanical click. The empty container in your hand is either a refund waiting to happen or just an empty container. Most visitors think they understand the German bottle the moment they see a crate of empties beside a supermarket door. They do not. They are looking at two different markets stacked in the same plastic. One market is single-use packaging under a statutory 25-cent deposit. The other is reusable packaging that circulates under different amounts and different circulation rules. Mix the two and the story becomes folklore. Keep them apart and the contradiction sharpens. Germany's Environment Agency records the single-use side with bureaucratic calm. Covered one-way beverage packaging carries a mandatory deposit of €0.25. The consumer who paid it is entitled to that amount back when an eligible empty container is returned. Retailers who sell the goods take on a return duty. A nationwide clearing requirement exists so that a shop which refunds a bottle it never sold is not left holding the cash loss. That is the factual nucleus, and it is narrower than the tourist version. The 25-cent rule applies to covered single-use containers, not every bottle on the shelf. Reusable glass, reusable crates, and refillable circuits live under another logic.
Their deposits are not that statutory €0.25, and their life is a loop of washing and refill rather than a one-way trip into a crusher. The historical blind spot is how late and how specific the single-use obligation became. For years, large categories of drinks sat outside the hardest edge of the deposit. Juice, milk drinks, and other everyday bottles could look identical to a cola bottle and still fail to trigger the same refund. Then the obligation widened. From 1 January 2024, Germany's Environment Agency documents an expansion of the deposit duty across more single-use beverage packaging that had previously slipped the net. The date matters because it proves the mechanism is not a folk custom. It is a legal switch that can be thrown over whole product classes at midnight on a calendar day. Before that switch, a shopper could finish two similar-looking drinks and hold two legally different objects. After it, more of those objects became refund tickets. What most people miss is that the deposit is not a poetic tax on plastic and not a tip for the planet. It is a temporary transfer attached to a sale.
The drink price and the deposit sit on the same receipt, but they are not the same claim. The drink is consumed and gone. The deposit remains as a liability until someone presents the empty packaging through an accepted return channel. If the packaging never comes back, the refund is never paid to that consumer. The legal design expects that possibility. It does not require every bottle to complete the circle. It only prices the failure. That pricing is why a German kitchen can look like a small treasury of necks and caps. Households do not store empties because they suddenly fell in love with logistics. They store them because 25 cents per eligible shell is large enough at daily volume to feel like leaving coins on the counter. A family that buys water by the case is not making an environmental speech. It is protecting a stack of claims. The 2024 expansion made that stack thicker for products that used to die as ordinary trash. A milk drink that once left no refund now leaves a number. The crate by the door is therefore not clutter. It is a waiting room for money the law invented, and only some of the bottles in it were invited.
The system has no single hero. It has counterparties. Deutsche Pfandsystem GmbH, known as DPG, sits in the middle as the operator of the one-way deposit process. It does not pour the cola. It does not stack the supermarket aisle. It registers the return process that lets a marked single-use container be recognized, reimbursed, and cleared. On its own account of the mechanism, the 25-cent deposit is legally required, the consumer is reimbursed on a valid return, reverse vending machines form a nationwide intake network, and deposit clearing keeps retailers from eating one another's refunds. That is an institution built to make a price portable. Across the counter stand the retailers, a discounter, a full-range supermarket, a kiosk, a station shop. Each one that sells covered single-use drinks becomes a collection node, whether it wanted a second career in empty packaging or not. The incentive is blunt. Refuse the take-back duty, and the shop is not merely rude. It is out of step with the rule that made the original sale legal in that form.
Accept the duty, and the shop becomes a bank teller for trash, paying out 25 cents again and again to people who may never have bought the drink under that roof. Behind the brands sit fillers and first distributors, the firms that put marked packaging onto the market and therefore put deposits into motion. Their motive is not romance. If they want to sell covered single-use drinks in this market, they must join the circuit that makes those drinks returnable as financial objects. Participation is the price of access. Germany's Environment Agency is not a grocer and not a bottler. It is the public body that writes the obligation in language a court can read: the amount, the consumer refund, the retailer return duty, the clearing requirement. It turns a cultural habit into an enforceable market rule. Then there are the unofficial workers. People who gather discarded bottles from parks, platforms, and event grounds are not a footnote. They are arbitrage. The law created a residual price. Informal collectors harvest it. A bottle left on a wall is not abandoned matter to them. It is an uncashed voucher lying in public.
Reverse vending manufacturers and shop fitters occupy a quieter niche. They sell the throat of the system, the machine that has to decide in a second whether this object is a claim or a piece of litter. Their customers are retailers who would rather not count bottles by hand. Every faction is responding to the same invented number. 25 cents is small on one receipt and enormous when it is multiplied by a nation's thirst. The motives are not hidden in a villain's speech. They are written into roles. DPG clears. Retailers take back. Fillers mark and fund. Collectors hunt. Consumers decide whether the walk to the machine is worth the coins. The empty bottle is the contract that binds them.
Start at the belt. The cashier, or the self-scanner, reads a barcode that is not only a product code. For a covered single-use drink, it is also the opening of a deposit file. The receipt splits the world in two. One line is the beverage. One line is 0.25 euro that the shopper does not own yet as a refund, only as a hostage. The bottle leaves the store as a full object and as an open claim. At home, the liquid disappears. What remains must still be eligible. The DPG marking is the passport. Without the registered identification, a reverse vending machine has no reason to treat the shell as money. With it, the empty packaging can re-enter commerce as a return, not as waste. This is why two bottles that look like twins can part ways at the slot. One carries the mark and the legal biography of a single-use deposit good. The other is reusable, or unmarked, or simply outside the covered class, and the machine owes it nothing. The consumer now walks back into retail. Take-back is not a courtesy desk. Germany's Environment Agency frames a retailer return duty for the covered single-use stream. A shop that sold this class of packaging is supposed to receive it again.
Large stores become almost public utilities of emptiness, swallowing brands they never put on their own shelves. Smaller shops live inside tighter practical limits, taking back what their floor and their assortment can honestly absorb. The obligation is still an obligation. The empty bottle has a legal right of re-entry that ordinary trash does not. Then the mouth of the machine. In a tiled alcove that smells faintly of sugar and damp cardboard, the shopper feeds the bottle in neck first. Present tense, because this is where the invented price becomes a mechanical event. Rollers grip. A scanner hunts the code. Sensors look for the DPG security features that say this object was born inside the registered one-way system and has not already been cached. If the read is clean, the machine accepts. Many units compact or puncture the container so the same bottle cannot be redeemed twice. A voucher prints or a digital credit appears. 25 cents moves from a suspended claim to spendable value, often usable only in that store, sometimes paid in cash at a desk, always real enough that people will queue for it on a Saturday. If the read fails, nothing romantic happens.
The bottle comes back out. The shopper is suddenly holding an object that has lost its financial costume. Maybe the label is destroyed. Maybe the item was never in the covered single-use class. Maybe it belongs to the reusable world and was shoved into the wrong throat. The machine does not lecture. It simply refuses to mint the coin. Behind the tiled wall, data begins to travel. DPG describes a registered return process and a deposit clearing function precisely because returns do not respect the original aisle. A customer can buy a bottle at a kiosk and redeem it at a hypermarket 50 kilometers away. Without clearing, the hypermarket would pay a refund for a deposit it never collected. With clearing, the return becomes a settlement item. The retailer that paid the consumer is made whole by the circuit that first put that deposit into the market. Reverse vending counts are not a green diary. They are invoices. Each accepted bottle is a row in a nationwide ledger of who collected, who refunded, and who owes whom. Conflict lives in the gaps. Labels tear in rain. Foreign packaging arrives in tourist luggage and dies at the slot.
A shop near a festival drowns in other people's empties and waits on clearing to repair the cash hole. Informal collectors arrive with bags so full the machine jams, and staff have to decide whether this is a customer or a small industry using the vestibule as a counting house. Manufacturers argue at the edges of coverage whenever a new drink format looks half like water and half like something the old rule never named. The 2024 widening of the obligation was one of those edge wars settled by a date rather than by a feeling. And then there was the bottle that never returns. No machine sees it, no voucher prints. The consumer who paid the deposit at checkout does not present the claim. The packaging may sit in residual waste, in a ditch, in a household cupboard forgotten for a year, or in a public bin later harvested by someone else. If another person finds it and the mark still reads, the claim can change hands without a contract. The law priced the object. Possession of the eligible empty becomes possession of the refund path. If nobody ever presents it, the refund is simply never paid outward to a return.
The clearing system has no row to settle because no retailer paid a consumer. The deposit that was collected at the original sale remains on the side of the market that took it in. That is not a twist ending invented for television. It is the arithmetic of an unclaimed hostage. The wound stays open there. A perfect circle would mean every covered bottle comes home, and every 25 cents goes back to the person who drank the drink. The actual market is leaky on purpose and by accident. Leakage funds nobody's speech about virtue. It is what happens when a price is attached to an object that can be lost, ignored, exported, destroyed, or cached by a stranger. Follow the container all the way, and you do not arrive at a tidy moral. You arrive at a ledger that can close cleanly only when plastic, glass, or can still looks like a key.
Strip the brands off the story, and the principle left on the table is almost rude in its simplicity. A state can staple a cash value onto an object that has already performed its only obvious job. The drink is gone. The packaging should, in a thoughtless market, be worth whatever a recycler would pay for dirty polymer or glass, which is often nearly nothing at the household scale. Germany's bottle deposit system refuses that verdict for a defined class of single-use containers. It manufactures a second price and then builds a return market strong enough to clear it. That is why the empty disposable bottle feels haunted.
The ghost is not guilt, it is a claim. Economics of this kind does not preach. It rearranges incentives until ordinary people start acting like cashiers of their own waste. Households sort not because a poster asks them to, but because a missed return is a visible loss. Retailers install machines not as theater, but because take-back without automation is a labor sink. Fillers mark packaging because unmarked goods cannot travel the refund rails. Informal collectors work parks because the law left coins lying on the grass.
The price signal does what sermons rarely do. It changes disposal at the exact moment a hand hovers over a bin. There is a colder lesson for anyone who thinks markets only discover value. Some values are enacted. 25 cents on a covered one-way bottle is real because statutes, markings, machines, and clearing make it expensive to treat that bottle as nothing. The same object, a few millimeters of design away, can be excluded and instantly become ordinary trash again. Legal distinction is not a footnote, it is the entire factory that produces the paradox. The aftertaste is the sound of a reverse vending machine swallowing a bottle at dusk, printing a slip and going quiet. Somewhere, a ledger balances. Somewhere else, a forgotten bottle under a car seat still carries a number nobody will ever type. Between those two fates sits a nation that taught itself to see cash in emptiness. If a government can teach millions of people to carry garbage home because garbage was assigned a price, what other discarded things are waiting for a number large enough to make us turn around?